What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is another live show of Recovery Talk brought to you by Pro Recovery Power, and I am your host. I will always be your host. And again, the main purpose I started doing this is to bring awareness to addiction, recovery, trauma, mental health, everything in that arena. I started doing this because when the pandemic hit, so many things were shutting down. I always say this, one thing that will never shut down is social media. So I know that there's a lot of people still sick and suffering out there due to this disease of addiction who have social media. So I created Pro Recovery Power, and I started to go live with other addicts, other alcoholics in recovery that want to share their story because it inspires hope. In my opinion, I don't care how you did it. If you once struggle with an addiction and you no longer do, I want to hear about it because it does. It inspires hope to everybody who is still suffering from this disease. Today, I have my man Adam coming on. He'll be here in a second. And I found out he's originally from California, but he lives in Kansas now. One thing I know about this guy, man, is he takes great pictures. You gotta go check out his Instagram profile. I will be posting this and tagging him in it as well if you guys want to ever reach out to him. But we will get started here in a second. Hey, there he is.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, bro? How's it going? Good. How are you?
Good, man.
All right. It's good to finally see you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh, you got
What
a
happened?
filter on, I think.
That's like I said, I've never done this before.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. So how's everything going, Adam?
Everything's going good.
Yeah, all
Uh,
right.
just got over COVID, so
You had COVID?
yeah, I did.
What? Oh, bro. Oh, so what was it like?
It was hard to explain. There was a lot of different symptoms and stuff, but I didn't really. I'm a plumber, so I was working, and I just didn't feel good. GI tract and all that stuff is just weird,
Hmm.
headaches and all that stuff. And I'm like, should I go get tested? This is the second day in a week. I've gone home early and I went and got tested. I was positive.
Oh,
And
wow.
then it hit me. I was really tired for a
Yeah.
long time. Still getting back
And
to it.
did you lose your sense of taste and stuff?
No,
Oh,
none of
wow.
that. So I never had a fever.
Oh, wow.
So it was just really weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird because as far as what I know about COVID is you lose your sense of taste and all that stuff, like it's like a flu. But I don't know, is there other strains of this thing going around or what? Like
Yeah,
that's kind
apparently
of
there's
weird.
like 7 different ones.
Oh,
That's what
really?
I've heard. But yeah,
That
just weird.
explains it. Mm.
hmm
Oh, wow. And I wonder, like, do you know? I never asked anybody this who had COVID, but once you get it, can you get it again, or do you know?
I heard that you're like 3 months uh, of not being able to get it or whatever.
Oh, really?
Immunity. Yeah, you grow an immunity to it. So,
Oh man, you can go wherever you want in the world for 3 months now.
you know, I was more worried about my lungs because I have really bad asthma,
Oh,
and I
really?
always I
Wow.
always get pneumonia and everything like that. It didn't really hit my lungs too bad, so it was like, all
Oh,
right, I'm
that's good,
pretty
man. Oh,
good.
right
Yeah,
on. Thank God. And you stayed sober through it all, huh?
right.
Yeah.
I
All
did.
right. That's cool, bro. Okay. So before we get into your story, Adam, I want to ask you. So, how long have you been sober?
4 years in January. I just hit 4 years. So
All right. I just hit 4 years Wednesday.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. That's
Yeah.
awesome. It flies
Yeah,
by,
man.
doesn't it?
Yeah. It's so much fun, bro. Um, so where are you from?
I live in Kansas now, near Kansas City. I'm from California. I grew up there my whole life,
All right.
and so Orange County guy. So,
Oh, okay. All right, cool. And what was your choice in drink and or drug?
so I did do meth for quite some time, off and
Hmm.
on that. It wasn't. I wouldn't call it a choice. It was more of a. I was hooked right away.
Oh, okay.
Um, I didn't even know what it was when I first tried it. Um, I wasn't that type of person, and so it was very weird for someone like me to get hooked on something like that. But
Hmm.
then after that, I really hit drinking a lot after I got sober off of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be what, 7 or 8 years sober off meth. And then
Okay.
after I got sober off that, I hit the alcohol really, really full force there. And I really, at first I did a lot of hard alcohol like tequila,
Mm-hmm.
whiskey, Jack and Cokes and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
but mostly I liked really strong beers and anything I could do to, because I ended up drinking on the job and doing stuff like that.
That's
So
what we do.
I got those, the reds, the big bottles, whatever it was at 7-Eleven, Mike's Harder lemonade,
Uh-huh.
because I thought it had a fruity smell and I'd get away with it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I smelled like rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah, because if I drink beer, like I would only have to drink IPAs. Because if I drink anything else, nothing will happen.
I loved
So
IPAs, Ballast
yeah,
Point
yeah,
and all that stuff.
yeah. But I was more I would drink liquor. I would drink, that was probably like maybe I was actively drinking and using for 20 years, but I would say maybe about 10 years into it, I just straight liquor like Jack and Cokes, and then I only would drink vodka for like the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Because I would that one, I was like a mad scientist trying to figure out which one would work best for me. And
Hmm.
what I found was that I never really had a hangover of vodka, so I just stuck to it. Like I could still go to work the next day and stuff,
Yeah,
and everything. But yeah, it was crazy though. It was just a terrible life to live, honestly.
it was.
Um, okay, bro. So at this time, Adam, I'm gonna give you the floor to tell us your story, man.
Okay. Well, I started off, I think I had my first sip of alcohol probably, I'd say 17, 18. Um, Real sip of alcohol, not, to actually drink and get drunk.
Hmm.
And immediately then I knew it affected me differently and it made me feel uh, different. When all the, you know, social anxiety and all that was
Yeah,
out the door.
yeah.
I could be crazy, and
Mhm.
I was a streaker, and the crazy, whatever was the wildest thing I could do, I did, and
Oh, that's
that's
funny.
basically what I was doing for a while. And then I was introduced to meth when I was at work. I went out with a bunch of people, got drunk off of some margaritas, and they wanted me to try this stuff, and I did, and I felt invincible. Immediately, my drunkenness was gone, and I'm like, well, I could mix this stuff up and be able to control my drinking and feel good and do a bunch of things. But it got bad really quick. I was highly addicted.
Mhm.
Um, I tried to quit, so I got a DUI when I was 21, and I had a break from meth at that time. Thank goodness.
Mhm.
Uh, didn't have anything on me, but I had 4 Newcastles, but I had the giant mugs of them. I think that's how many I had, and I thought I was fine. I refused to do a breathalyzer,
Mhm.
and I ended up um, drawing blood, and I had to walk home because my cell
Oh,
phone was fell down underneath my seat. The police couldn't find it,
oh.
and so I walked home and rode my bike to work the next day. Told all my buddies at work, and they're like, "Oh, you'll be all right." I remember my friends were like, I gave them all the information to look it up, and the blood alcohol would come through. I remember getting back to the shop, and my buddy's like, "Dude, did you see?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good, right?" Because I thought I was good. I didn't feel crazy,
Mhm.
and I was double the limit. So
Wow.
immediately then my heart sank, and I knew stuff was going to happen. And I lost my license for about 9 months.
Mhm.
That was my first time I was introduced to AA. I had to
Mhm.
go to some meetings, cost me a lot of money. And even getting to and from things like that, I had to go to MADS, Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Mhm.
And it was something. It was a time when I said I was going to swear off drinking forever because this
Yeah.
isn't good. Remember, I brought my uncle and my dad over. I'm like, I need to see you guys. It was a Friday night, and they were out, and he's like, "What's wrong?" He thought like something life changing was happening, and I told him I got a DUI. He's like, "That's." He's like, "Well, you know what you got to do. You're gonna have to pay for this. You're gonna have to do whatever you have
Hmm.
to do to get through it." And so I did. I was pretty good about it. I didn't drink a lot during that time. I think I went back more to meth here and there.
Hmm.
Luckily, I never got caught on that. Um, and I remember um, I didn't drink as much for a good while, but I would slip meth here and there.
Hmm.
And when we got pregnant with my daughter, I was about 24,
Hmm.
25 at the time, and I was pretty bad on it, and it was pretty obvious when you'd look at me.
Hmm.
I would stay up late. I'd go down to the garage, and eventually I was given a drug test at home,
Oh, wow.
and it kind of surprised me, and I didn't want to take it, and I let it sit there for a day or so, and I thought I'd be good. I took it, and it was bad. It was a bad test, and
Hmm.
I remember I was angry. I was ashamed. I slammed my head against the wall, knocked myself out. I went crazy, and I passed out, and I woke up the next morning to my girlfriend at the time. She was my girlfriend at the time, pregnant with my daughter. She was gone, and my dad knocking on the door at my apartment,
Hmm.
and he had heard what had happened, and I remember going to mother. It was Mother's Day, um, and so I went there completely ashamed and deflated. I had to move in with my parents and try to get sober during that time. I relapsed again in the summer, and then at that point, I was told to go to rehab. So I did go to outpatient rehab facility, and that's
Hmm.
where I was even more influenced with AA. And um, I remember sitting in the groups, and I'd sit there with my arms crossed, just pissed off at the world, just head down. And I remember the instructors like they were going around the room, and I wouldn't say much. And he's like, "Adam, how about you share?" I'm like, "Share what?" And he's like, "Go ahead and share." I said, "Well, I don't think I should be here. I really don't want to be here. I could fix this on my own, and I'm just doing what I have to do to get my life back." And he said, "You're going to be a poster child for this program, I'm telling you." And I just laughed, and I was pissed off and that I was in that position because that wasn't where I believed I should be.
Hmm.
And I remember I got about 40 days sober
Hmm.
and relapsed again in, near Christmas after my daughter was born. I
Hmm.
stayed sober for that period of time. And when I relapsed again and I moved out with my parents, I was gone for a good 3 months of
Cool.
my daughter's life. And in order to move back in, I had to give a good clean test. And it
Hmm.
took me a good week or so to finally get off that, get a clean test. And I did it. It wasn't a hard thing to get over, really. It was just,
Hmm.
all right, I don't want to involve myself with the people I had to involve myself with. I don't have to search the streets,
Hmm.
ask strangers for drugs. I
Yeah.
mean, what I was doing down in the alleyways of Santa Ana looking for drugs was, I'm amazed I never got in trouble or killed or stuff
Hmm.
like that. I saw things down there that it wasn't my place to be, but drugs
Yeah.
brought me there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so after that time, I remember I was just kind of cold turkey, clean, sober, and I drank a couple drinks during I think it was Memorial Day or something like that
Hmm.
weekend, and I felt that buzz, and I liked it. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, oh yeah, I think I could do this, and I eventually just, it was a progressive illness.
Mhm.
It wasn't right away. I was drunk all the time. It didn't take until, I would say, up before I got married a little bit in 2014.
Mhm.
I was starting to drink a little bit at work, drink before I got home, hide my drinks, hide how much I was drinking. And eventually, um, after I got married, that about a year after 2015, I ended up hurting my back at work. So I was
Mhm.
off work for a long time. And that's the worst place to be for someone like me because I was drinking at home. I had a big old wine jug,
Mhm.
the cheapest wine you could find because it was really strong and I could mix it up with my beers and stuff.
Mhm.
And there was a line on the thing. So whenever someone would come home, they'd smell it on me. And how much did you drink today? Oh, nothing. Because I had another jug in my truck, and I'd pour that in there to fill it up. Um, and hiding my drinking was just terrible. I remember getting really drunk one night at my parents' house. I was angry about something that happened at work,
Mhm.
and this is about 2015. And I just, I was done. I was done with everything. I was drinking so much at that time. Um, I was pretty much out of my mind. And I remember I wanted to just kill myself. I was
Mhm.
suicidal. And I I remember saying goodbye to a couple of people, calling them. Everyone was worried. And I I remember picking up my daughter and I was just kind of I was sad and crying and I put her down really roughly and was
Mhm.
like goodbye, have a good life and this and that. And I went to the bathroom and
Mhm.
I remember someone was knocking at the door. I get out of the bathroom in my apartment and open the door and there's police officers at my door
Mhm.
and they were trying to come in. And I remember putting my hand on his chest, like, don't come in. I was angry, like, why are you here? And I remember he's like, you don't want to do that. Let's not do this. And I'm like, kind of like snapped back into it of how serious this was. And
Mhm.
he ended up arresting me inside the apartment and putting me outside. And they took me down to the hospital for 5150.
Mhm.
Um, and I was angry there. I wanted to go home. I said I had work the next day. Um, I was threatening the cop who was outside that I was going to leave. It's like, you leave, you're not going to want to do that. It's going to be really bad.
Mhm.
And I ended up staying the whole 72 hours. It was terrible. It was
Yeah.
terrible. I had to, they drew my blood and my liver was almost shot at that time.
Mhm.
And he said, your liver enzymes are terrible. You need to stop drinking. I said, I don't have a drinking problem. What are you talking about? I just didn't feel good that day.
Mhm.
And they gave me antabuse, um,
Mhm.
a drug to basically you get violently ill if you drink. And they
Mhm.
warned me on that. And I remember I took it. And as soon as I got out, I wanted to drink again, but drink quietly because now the radar was off. Adam has a drinking problem. So everybody
Mhm.
in my family, everyone knew. So I couldn't just drink openly in
Mhm.
groups and stuff. So I figured out to change those pills into vitamin C that looked exactly like it. I flushed the rest of those antabuse down and I took the vitamin C every day. And I think I drank a little too early because my whole face rashed up. I felt hot and itchy and it was not good. But I ended up getting through it and still drinking here and there. And then eventually I started drinking again openly, and um, it got really bad. Um,
Mhm.
I was just a loser, and eventually I was kicked out of my apartment. I had to go live with my parents, and when I was walking out, they're like, don't you need something? Don't you need some clothes or something like that?" And I remember I grabbed my 36 pack of beer, I grabbed my wine, and I walked out the door. That's all I
Mhm.
took with me because that's all I wanted. and that's all that mattered to me. And from that point on, it was on. Uh,
Mhm.
Went out to bars, hung out with my old friends, um, just went balls to the wall, drinking every day, and nobody was there to judge me or know. Um, Around my parents, I didn't let them see how much I was drinking. I just try to hide it as much as I could. And that should have clicked at some point, as how much I was working at hiding this and keeping it going, um, instead of, maybe take a few days off. I
Mhm.
couldn't do that. I was working harder to make it fit in my life and make sure I was okay. I
Mhm.
remember I would wake up in the morning, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to go hiking, not have a drink right when I wake up. And I remember I filled up my canteen up with wine and beer, and I would go on a hike just out in Majeska Canyon and get lost. And I was drinking the whole day, and
Mhm.
I couldn't get rid of it. Eventually, I started getting the shakes really bad.
Mhm.
So I had to drink to feel normal again.
Right.
At that point,
Mhm.
it was something that controlled my life. Everything I had to do revolved around alcohol. If I went out drinking at the bar, I drank a lot before I went out. And when I got home, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd drink till I passed out. And eventually, I felt like it was basically like meth again, because I
Uh-huh.
was drinking so much. I was so sick all the time that I couldn't eat. I
Yeah.
couldn't eat any food. All I could do is drink. And those were my calories. And my health really went downhill. Um, and eventually, at the end of that year, I was facing divorce papers and stuff like that, which I deserved
Mhm.
100%. And I remember I went to a wedding with my friends, and I was that was the first time I started. I think I blacked out a few times before that, but I it was sandals, so you could alcohol was available to me at all times, paid for, and I blacked out a few times there, and I made a fool of myself. Um, and I remember my friend telling me, thought everything was okay because I blacked out and I woke up. It was the day I was leaving, and everyone was weird with me the next morning. I'm like, this is weird. And I remember texting them, yeah, I had fun because they were staying, and he said, if you want to be friends or anything like that, you're going to have to get some help. I'm like, I'm all
Mhm.
right. I'll be fine. It's like, no, seriously, like, you need to fix this. Something's wrong. And I remember that was kind of the point where nobody wanted anything to do with me.
Mhm.
So when I got home back in California, I woke up to basically nothing good happening in my life. I had nobody. I would nobody hang out with. Um, I had run everybody out of my life. My one thing I cared about was alcohol, and that's all I had.
Mhm.
And it wasn't. I wondered how I got there so
Mhm.
fast, and I didn't know what to do. I remember waking up and just drinking, and I said, you know what, I gotta fix something. Something clicked, thankfully, because either I was gonna die from it, or you know, I could try. I could try this, and that was the worst withdrawals I've ever had.
Mhm.
Was when I quit drinking. Um, I remember I was in bed for a good week
Mhm.
of just throwing up, um, shaking, hot and cold sweats, just feeling like I was going to die. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, this isn't worth it. I was going to die from drinking.
Yeah.
This is terrible. I'm going to die from not drinking. I
Yeah.
highly don't recommend. After I did all that, I've learned that it's can be deadly. Um,
Yes.
so if you do decide to quit and you're drinking heavily, seek some medical attention for
Yeah.
that,
Absolutely.
because a lot of my friends have had seizures and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it's nothing I recommend doing, but I made it through it. And I remember there's a AA down the street from my house, and I, okay, I'm gonna go. And I remember drinking between meetings. I went to a noon meeting and I drank after. I got people's numbers, and I remember after the 7 o'clock meeting, I drank the rest of my drink that night, and that was it. I didn't go buy anymore, and I kept going, and I didn't go back to the meetings. This was about in November of 2016, and I thought I could do it. I made it through the holidays sober. I didn't have a program. I didn't do any work on myself. I just focused on not drinking. And I learned quickly after New Year's is I found a stash that I had hidden at my parents' house. And I, I'm like, I deserve a sip because I've been good. And I drank the whole 18 pack. And I reeked of booze till the next day when I went to go pick up my daughter. And I was asked at that time, did you drink? And I'm like, well, in the back of my head, I haven't drank since last night. You know, what should I say? And I remember them looking, my wife looking me in my eyes and saying, you know, did you drink? And I had a choice to make right there. I said I could be the lying bastard I've been this whole freaking time, or this is real. I got to change. And I said, yeah, I did drink. And it was shameful because it was me doing the same old me. It wasn't surprising. So I needed something at that point because I knew it was all over. You know, I tried and it failed. And I got a hold of one of my buddies, Casey, and he lived in Connecticut, and he knew people. I went to high school, middle school. I went to play t-ball with him, and I knew he was in the program. And he got me hooked up with a guy, a total stranger, who was going to meetings down the street from my house, and I said, "Call this guy. He's going to help you." I remember calling him the next morning, and he said, "Come to this meeting. Well, everything will be all right." And I was just thinking in the back of my head, my life's a mess. You know, I got nothing good going for me. What do I have to lose? So I did go. I put my head down, had my hood on, walked in through those doors, and that was the hardest thing to do because I knew this was it. This was it. You know, I've tried my program. I've tried my way. This is it. So I sat there, cross-armed, head down, didn't share, didn't do anything. And he ended up becoming my sponsor. And he was like, "You really don't want to be here, do you?" I said, "No, I don't. This is shameful that I am here." He's like, "Your best thinking got you here."
Yeah.
And it kind of clicked to me. He said, "You know what? I'll tell you one thing." He said, "If you stay, you'll never have to drink again, even if you want to."
Right.
And it made no sense to me at that time because my head was everywhere. I was thinking about all the crazy deals I was going through in life. And I just wanted my daughter back in my life, but I was nowhere near the dad I should have been. And so I said, "All right, take me through this." And I remember I was going to 2, 3 meetings a day, whatever I could fit into. This was the only way I knew. There wasn't an online sober community at the time. So I did what he told me. I listened to suggestion. I listened to people sharing, and it amazed me how much they understood what I was going through.
Yeah.
And whenever I would share in a way that was like telling on myself and being like, I did this, basically what I shared already. And they all would laugh and they would shake and then they share afterwards and say, "Yeah, I remember I did something like that." And I'm like, I thought I was unique, like in my problems. I'm the only one dealing with this. Don't you understand? And I found people who understood what I was going through. They understood. They'd been there. They knew it, and they were doing it. They were living a sober life. They were happy. They were smiling, laughing.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do any of that. I didn't know how to go to a party. I didn't know how to go somewhere and have fun without a drink in my hand. And I learned there how to do it. like my 30 days in, I got hurt at work, on my dad's work. I got crushed by a machine,
Oh,
CNC, big old CNC machine. It was closing. I had dropped my hat. You should never be in these things. And it was just a reactionary thing. I tried to grab my hat, and it came and crushed my shoulder and my ribs. And I thought I was going to die. Like, because every time I would wiggle, to get out, it kept closing and closing and closing.
oh yeah.
And I heard all my bones crack in my body, and I was freaking out. I
Mm.
couldn't talk. They thought I had a heart attack. I couldn't talk to the paramedics who came. I was given uh, Joe Dusk or something like that,
Mhm.
some weird name, and they didn't even have a birthday. They just kind of just put down numbers because on my wrist guard because they didn't know who I was. I
Yeah.
couldn't explain to them what had happened. I ended up breaking my shoulder blades in half, and I was out of work for another 9 months. And
Mm.
I said, God, what does this mean? I'm trying to get my life back together. Why does this accident have to happen now? Um, and I know with idle time, I'm not good with it. I don't know
Mhm.
what to do. I remember when I got out of the hospital a day or two later, first thing I wanted to do, I got off early enough to make it to a new meeting, and my mom dropped me off there, and I remember I would walk. It was walking distance with a sling. I'd
Mhm.
walk to all those meetings. I'd make them because I knew at that time in the hospital. Actually, I remember texting my my dad had to text him for me because we were supposed to meet to start the steps and do some work. And my dad told him what had happened, and he gave me some work to do. And I told my dad, bring back the big book. Let's do this. And I remember diving into books and reading because I knew this was a turning point too.
Mhm.
I didn't even make it 30 days, and God's throwing a wrench in the gears to see what I got.
Yeah.
And I wanted to prove everyone wrong, is what I wanted to do. For a good long period of time, I had drank so much, apparently nobody trusted me.
Mhm.
I didn't give them any good reason to trust me before then. So I had to buy a breathalyzer to prove that I wasn't drinking, secretly here and there. I was tested a lot, and I, to this day, never have failed that breathalyzer, and that's something I'm very proud of. Um, Without the guidance and the help of people in the sober community, my sponsor at the time, I probably would have never been able to do this because my best thinking got me there, and help, the help that I needed, I didn't know I needed,
Mhm.
was available to me for $1, a meeting in the
Mhm.
basket, type deal. And I'm eternally grateful to have that. Um, I went hardcore for a year until I got my 1 year. I did everything I could do. Um, that time I had that was idle time, I had eventually just go on hikes. I
Mhm.
go on a hike and just read a book out in the quiet. I learned how to sit with myself, the quiet moments, which I just had to do when I was quarantined down in my basement for a week or two.
Mhm.
Um, and it all came back to me like my mind just races, and it's something I'm still learning to do. Um, but once I got a year, I ended up, telling everyone what I did on social media so that I
Mhm.
could explain why you're not seeing party scenes, crazy stories, and Snapchats and here and there anymore
Yeah.
because I was getting my life back. And, my daughter was 4 at the time when I got sober, and she's 8 now. And
Mhm.
I don't think she remembers any drunk dad. And that
Mhm.
is something I'm very proud of.
Mhm.
Um, I never knew I could do it. And it is possible. I mean, no matter how bad what you're looking at legally, your life just seems to be going nowhere. I didn't see the future. I didn't see a good future worth living for. And I could tell you
Mhm.
today that in 4 years, I have more than I've ever had in my life. I have everything that alcohol had promised. Um,
Mhm.
sobriety had delivered on that. And I knew that after that 1 year, I wanted to give it back. I found a way to be able to do that online on Instagram and just share hope, share that I understand what you're dealing with. Because that was the biggest thing that went through to me was people understood, even though I thought I was crazy, I thought I was struggling, this was my own thing. People understood, and I wanted people to know that they're not alone in that. And that's was a turning point in my life. And so every year I just continue to try to grow through that.
Right on, bro. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. It's
Yeah.
so, it's so inspiring. Like, no matter how much time I got, no matter how much recovery I got in me, I love to hear people's stories of how, their life was just such a mess and they see no way out. Some did, some didn't. Some had a little bit of hope, some had no hope. And then, they have a totally different life, a total transformation just happened in them. Like how I seen like in your story, how you explained it. And you talked about a lot of different things, man. Um, Something that I learned about, like when we're in this, like the tunnel, like we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
What was told to me was, if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, look for somebody with a flashlight. Look for that person. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's
Mm-hmm.
people who kind of have what I want, kind of thing. That was what was suggested to me. And and I'm glad that you mentioned that's amazing, bro. Thank God you're still alive, because
Yeah.
when I was going to school to become a substance abuse counselor, I learned about like everything, all these drugs, alcohol. And if you look at it on paper, like every drug known to mankind, and alcohol blows everything out of the water.
Yeah.
It's amazing and it's legal. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But alcohol is the only drug that can kill you if you do not detox properly. So
Yeah.
thank God you made it through that, man.
Yeah.
Like opiates, like heroin, it feels like you're gonna die, but you're not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol, it can kill you though, and that's why, it's kind of like for alcoholics today that's still actively drinking. Like when the pandemic hit, a lot of them probably was so happy. I'm on unemployment, I can stay home, I'm making more money now, and I get to drink all day.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of like a bittersweet thing, because I mean, if there was to like, I mean, this probably will never ever happen, but let's say like they closed down liquor stores and stuff like that, people would have been dying left and right from alcohol,
Yep.
because they don't have it. Because like you said, you needed to drink just to no more delirium tremens, no shakes anymore, to
Yeah.
just get normal. And that's hard to explain to like normal people. They're like, what?
Yeah.
I
What?
get what you're saying.
Yeah, because some people, just one drink gets them there, and then it's like, no, I needed like three to get me okay, and
Right.
then I could start trying to work towards a buzz if I could
Yeah.
ever get there again.
Yeah, and something that I did the same thing you did, like, but I mean, man, that's amazing. Your shoulder blade got crushed in half, but you still made it to meetings, bro.
Mm.
That's a big deal. And you said you would walk there, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
I
and
would.
I did the same thing. I was living at my sister's house, and the meeting, the Alano Club I was going to, it was like 2 miles away. But I would walk there, man. Like, and because I really, I mean, I had a desire for years to stop drinking, like an honest desire, but I couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But then I made it into a 12-step program, and I really loved it. Like you said, I walk in there, like people was hugging and laughing. I'm like they're telling all these stories. Like, man, you guys did that too.
yeah,
I'm not actually as special as I thought I was.
yeah.
And it
Right.
actually helped me to open up more. And
Hmm.
and say all these horrible things I've done. And it just was so like it just was like such a freeing experience that like I never felt judged. I always felt like I was in a safe place. No, like nobody looked down on me or anything like that. Like
Hmm.
my experience anyway. I know people have different ones, but mine that's how it was for me. And I'm just so grateful, man. And you talked about, and something that I absolutely agree, is the sober community, like online on Instagram, specifically on Instagram, where I
Hmm.
find it. I
Yeah,
mean, in a way, like thank God for the pandemic. In a way, I'm not saying that thank God because all these people died. No, no,
yeah,
but like because without it, I wouldn't have made certain connections, certain doors wouldn't have opened for me. I wouldn't have made friends with people. Like I have close relationships with people I've never even met in real life that live in different states that I talk to like all the time.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Like it's crazy, like how you can be sober, you can be in recovery, and you meet somebody literally on the other side of the planet, and they're doing the same thing. It's an instant connection. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
It's amazing how you just connect with people so easily in the sober community. We just are drawn to each other and
Mhm.
we grow together. I mean, the
That's right.
support, we know that support is everything, and
Hmm.
you have to give it away to keep it.
That's exactly right, bro. And like, and me, I love to carry the message of recovery. Absolutely love to give it away. Like even if I didn't have to give it away in order to keep it, I would still do it. It's just
Yeah.
that's just me, kind of thing. And like you too. Like when I first got sober, I was like, oh, I wasn't all like public about it and everything. It
Yeah.
was like a good 1 or maybe 2 years before
Right.
I publicly started to talk about my sobriety. And and I remember thinking, every single one of my friends back home will not believe it. They're not gonna believe me when I start saying it.
Yeah.
Like because I broke so much relationships. I damaged so much people, and like trust, I learned, is a repeated reality. Just because, oh yeah, I'm sober now. It's like, okay, roll out the red carpet. I've been sober for 10 days. You know what I mean? Like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like for me, I always say, like, I never want a pat on my back for not doing something I shouldn't have been doing in the first place. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, why would I want that? I
That's how
just,
I felt.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I felt like, hey, I've been in a really bad place. I've been very secretive about it. Not everyone knows how bad my drinking actually is.
Mhm.
And so let me have it. And all I got was congratulations. And that's really inspiring. And I was like, okay. It did feel good. I'm like, I had to actually look because I was so out of self anymore at that point. I wasn't selfishly thinking about getting drunk anymore. That
Mhm.
hearing that back, I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm doing what I thought was not possible, and
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it is, bro. It's so amazing, man. Like, like I was just saying, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. Like I just absolutely love hearing people's, recovery stories. I do. And like I always say this, like when I go live with somebody, like I don't care. 12-step program, God snapped his fingers,
Yeah.
you did rehab, you went to therapy. I don't care. I mean, people are sick and suffering out there. People are literally dying. I remember it was in 2019 they did a study. So the statistics is worse though from certain months during COVID, but in 2019 it was 760,000 people died due to a direct result of drug addiction and alcoholism. I mean
Yeah.
that's 760,000 people or deaths that could have been prevented. Like
Mm.
I understand in the 12-step program that I go to, I understand anonymity. I understood why in the beginning they're really small. They're not
Mhm.
small anymore. They couldn't handle all that stuff. And but people, in my opinion, people they kind of confuse anonymity with secrecy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Hmm.
I have, because I'm public and open about my sobriety. I have helped so much people. So much people have reached out to me because of COVID. I also do counseling, like one-on-ones on the side.
Yeah.
But I go down to a treatment center in Riverside, and I do that 3 days a week. But it's just my whole entire life. I never thought I would be where I'm at today. It's
Yeah.
my whole entire life. Literally, is all about recovery. Like literally, like I can relate anything to recovery. It's just crazy. My wife knows this about me. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter what it is. I can always relate it to recovery because the one thing that affected me in my addiction was my thinking, and that's the
Yeah.
same thing recovery affected is my thinking. So everything is affected. So I can relate
It's a
anything
thinking
to recovery.
problem.
Exactly, yeah.
It is.
Like I didn't have a drinking problem; it was a
I
thinking
have a thinking
problem.
problem. Yep.
That's right. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
you
And
know
I
when I
mean,
first, yeah. Go ahead.
the best the best thing I could tell anyone is like, if you're listening to this, you don't have to do it the way I did it. You'll find your own way, and
Yeah,
no one story is the same.
Yeah.
So there is no pathway. You got to find your own path.
Oh,
You'll have help along the way, and
yeah.
that's all you need to know. Do you, and
Hmm.
it's the no matter what club. That's it.
That's
Really
right.
all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, today I'm all for, like, it doesn't matter how you get sober, whatever works for you, do it because
Yeah.
you're saving your life. Like, like the culture in a 12-step program, there's this big trap. I talk about it a lot. We fall into this trap. I've done it so many times, and then I became aware of it from, honestly, from people that I've become friends with on social media, and I people that are also in the same fellowship I'm in too, them too. So it's a combination of both. That this trap of, okay, this worked for me. I conceded to my innermost self that yes, I'm alcoholic, and I was beyond human aid. Da, 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 da. All these things I've learned
Hmm.
in this the culture of the 12-step program. And the big mistake I make is I compare mine with that person's one and that
Yeah.
person's one. So you have to do what I did, kind of thing. But no, you actually don't. That was I had that thinking for about like almost 2 years when I first got sober.
Yeah.
Like when I became a counselor, I learned about harm reduction. I was like,
Yeah.
you know what that is, harm reduction? I was like, there's no solution in that. You know what I
No,
mean?
you're just gonna
Because
go back.
yeah, like harm reduction is like, um, I mean, there technically is no solution in it technically, but what it does, it'll introduce you to the solution. See,
Yeah.
people trying to get off opiates, they take like Suboxone and
Yeah.
methadone and stuff like that, helps them to taper off. I know people personally that literally saved their life,
Yeah.
and that made me to kind of keep my mind open more about, like, wow, one size doesn't fit all in recovery,
No.
and I'm okay with that today.
I said, recently on a podcast was if I were to write a book about how to get sober, I'd have to write a million of them because
Yeah.
there is no right way. There's a million different ways there.
No, I know. I hear you, bro, and that's so crazy, man. Like, I'm actually I've been putting it off, but I'm in the process of writing the book too. It takes so much work. I just got done finishing up my degree. Literally, I did my last essay right before we went live, and I'm done,
Yeah.
man. Oh, thank God for that. Because I'm not like a
Yeah.
book person. Like I'm a hands-on. Like, you know what I mean. I don't need a degree to
Do
go
something.
out and live my purpose. Of why I'm here and stuff. But it was suggested to me that no, it's a good idea. Plus, because of COVID, I had time to do it and stuff. But I started it before COVID,
That's
so
awesome.
it worked out perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So now, we're winding down, Adam. I'm gonna ask you some questions now. Okay. So what is your favorite thing about being sober?
Being present. Um, I'm present in the moment. I'm not because what I would do, even if I showed up somewhere sober, I would think about when I can get a drink and
Mhm.
how I'm going to get enough drinks to make me feel good. And then it just spirals like an avalanche from
Yeah.
there. Now I could just be there and be me.
Hmm.
And, it took me a long time to fall back in love with myself.
Yeah.
I really didn't like the man I saw in the mirror. And sobriety has given me that opportunity to find myself again.
That's right. That's cool, bro. I know. I was for me, like, I can relate to you because, like, my presence never made me present. Even though I'm physically there, oh, I wasn't. I never was active in my addiction.
Yeah.
Ever. Um okay, this I like this question. So this next one is, what is something you still struggle with? Because some people think, oh, you're sober, your life is just great now. I mean, that it is, but we do
Mhm.
still have challenges and struggles that we still deal with, even though we're sober.
So the biggest thing is to keep in mind is you're sober now, but life goes on. Life's
Mhm.
not perfect. You're going to have problems that stress you out. People get angry with you or arguments, just everyday life issues. What you have to look at it as is I'm sober now. I'm not going to think about it irrationally. And you have a chance to respond, not react to that situation.
Mhm.
So the question was that what I still struggle with is
Mhm.
everyday life, the mood swings of
Hmm.
depression and anxiety. But I have to learn how to deal with that. And that's
Hmm.
part of life. It
Right.
really is. It's not an excuse for me, but it's something I want to learn and grow better at.
That's cool, bro. I feel you on that one. Okay, next one is, um, did you ever think recovery was possible for Adam?
No, I wouldn't. If I, I said this a long time ago when I hit 18 months, but if I was a horse in a race, I would never put money on myself.
Yeah.
I would never bet on myself to make it. I would think I knew where I was, and I never saw anything good coming from it, other than maybe people would start taking me more seriously, and I could get some friends back.
Hmm.
But I never saw myself, over 1,500 days sober.
Yeah.
I couldn't go one or two.
Hmm. Yeah, me too, bro. That's a good one. I like that. If I was a horse, I wouldn't bet on myself,
No.
horse and race. I wouldn't either, bro.
Yeah, I knew what I had, and I still wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next question, Adam, is what was your breaking point?
It was that moment when, yeah, I was kicked out of my house. Yeah, divorce was down my throat. But I think it was a culmination of that, plus now all my friends, my drinking buddies have had enough. Um,
Mhm.
my parents were just, their hands were up in the air. They didn't know what to do for me. Everybody looked at me differently, and I had nothing. I literally had nothing good going for myself, and I either saw myself homeless or, dead. I knew it was a turning point, and I had to make
Mhm.
a decision.
That's important, Like you said something so key right there at the end. You said I had to
Mm-hmm.
make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
The word decide, it's like, like words like suicide,
Yep.
homicide. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
coming back from them.
Yep.
But like when we make a decision, because as an alcoholic, we definitely know how to make decisions. We do.
Mm.
There's no
Yep.
questioning that. But it's just kind of making the right decisions. And what I found was the more right decisions I made, the easier it started to get. And like
Yeah.
it's sure the opposite too will happen as well. It's
Exactly.
amazing. But okay, last question, Adam. So, what words of advice would you give someone new to sobriety?
Uh, Throw ego and pride out the door,
Mhm.
and listen.
Mhm.
And listen to not just one person, not a one group of people, many groups. Obviously, Instagram is a great key there. You could get anyone's opinions or suggestions of
Yeah.
how they did it, and pick and choose out of each one of those and build your own recovery out of it. Honestly, you have a lot of tools at your disposal at that point. So,
Yeah, it's
dive
funny.
in.
Yeah, it's funny because when I got sober, when people are getting sober during the pandemic, they never had the same resources that I had when I got sober. But like you just made me realize something. But because of the strong sober community on social media, they have access to tons of people and stuff. But it's just they gotta take action and they gotta go out and seek help
Right.
and make friends with people and stuff like that. And I think it's a little I don't really want to use the word easier, but because you're not physically there and you got to walk physically to a room and people can see you.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your phone, on your computer, and things like that. It might seem a little less intimidating, I guess you could say. For some people. So people got different tools now. But like
I
you
would
said,
say
like
the biggest thing is, as hard as you work to get drunk, party, make alcohol still fit in your life, you got to work as hard as that on being sober and
yeah,
getting through recovery.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Me, I'm even active in my addiction. I was always like an action person,
Yep.
I could pull the trigger, no problem. And
Yep.
like all I needed to do was to be pointing in a direction and just go that way. Okay, I'm gonna go, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like that's one thing that like when I go into treatment centers, I go speak somewhere, or I'm in a meeting and somebody asks me, um, what would you say to somebody still struggling or something along those lines.
Mhm.
That's one thing I always say. I don't know if I ever will change that, because that has totally revolutionized and changed the whole trajectory of my life. Was when I tell people to, go take massive action, because we're not strangers to hard work. If you made it here, if like when I'm in treatment centers, you already know how to work hard. Like we do. We know, we can, we gotta push our mind, our bodies to the limit and things like that. And that's one thing, because getting all this information, like from a 12-step program, from a therapist, counseling, it's great, but that's just like half the solution. The other half is, okay, go apply it now. You gotta apply it into your life. Like we never just bought beer and just let it sit in the fridge. No, we
Right.
opened it and we drank it. It's
Yeah.
just the same thing.
Do something.
Yeah.
Like me walking through those doors that last time, it was my head down, my, crossed arms. That was pride. Back in rehab when I sat there and I was angry, it was pride keeping me back, and I had to let go of that. And it was just, it's hard to tell someone exactly it's gonna be okay. When they're first going in, it's like, trust me, it's one day, one step.
Yeah. At a time.
It's a
It's so funny.
process.
Yeah, it is a process. You mentioned something about pride, and like for me, I had so much pride. See, I never made it into the rooms because I sought out help. Like long story short, I got caught by my sister, and that's how I made it into the rooms of recovery. Because like this is just my thinking. I suspected that this disease of addiction had these walls to protect itself from me. And the first one was pride, which I never got to. And like, but I suspect the ones after that is shame, guilt, condemnation, remorse. Like I had to break through all these walls in order to seek help. That's how my mind would think. But like I made a decision though. Like I'm gonna die from it, or I'm gonna die with it. That's it. That's all. Because every time I tried to fight against just the thought of drinking, it would just run me over like a Mack truck. Like no problem. Like so, anytime the thought came, I would entertain it, bam, and I would go do it. It was just crazy. I was at a point in my life where I lost the ability to choose whether I'm gonna drink or not. I had to do it. I just had to. You know what I mean? It just sucked. That was the worst aspect of my addiction, is when
It wasn't fun anymore.
No, even when I didn't want it, I had to have it. It's a terrible way of life, and it was just a vicious cycle of torment, man. And that's why I'm so passionate today about recovery. I mean, I have a high fervor for this thing, and I love carrying the message to other people. It's just amazing, and I never get tired of it, bro. My wife knows. She gotta like pull me, hey, oh, take it easy, take it easy. I'm like, dang,
relax.
like, yeah, I'm very high strung, man. When it comes to recovery, like, naturally I'm an introvert, but like, oh, you like talk recovery, man. I'm like, okay, let's go, let's do it.
It's one thing I feel like I could really talk about, and someone will listen. It's I'm the same way. It's like I actually have something to say about this, and and it's all with the hope of I wasn't able to help myself, and now all of a sudden I'm here where I can help someone else. I would have never seen that, and it's a gift that you got to keep doing.
Right. I like that. It's a gift that you got to keep doing. That's great.
Yep.
Well, Adam, hey, thank you so much, brother, for being here. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
the time, man. Now, I'll be keeping in touch with you. I'll come visit you out in Kansas. Now, all these friends that I'm making, I'm like trying to make plans and how we can all get together, because we're like a bunch of us are all friends. So I'm like, man, we'll start hitting different states now,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love that. Or if I come back and visit family.
That's right. Let me know when you're down here too.
I will.
Okay. All right, bro. Hey, you have a great day.
You too. Thanks for having me.
All right, Adam. Thanks, brother.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, okay, there we go. He's gone. Hey, so that was Adam. He had a great story to tell. I always say this: if you have a story to tell, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you got sober. If you want to tell me, please, I would love to hear it. There's so much people out there still sick and suffering, struggling due to the disease of addiction. So please, you can DM me here on my personal account at Alika Gamble. Thank you guys so much for watching. I got 2 people next week, Saturday and Sunday. I always go live Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be great. I see one of my guests is on right now. So you guys, please stay tuned. I thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Thank you guys. See you next week.